Before we begin, thank you very much to Non-Nef Productions. I hope I pronounced that right. Non-Nef Productions for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for doing so. So usually when I'm out of shout outs, I do kind of shake the tree a little bit just to make sure it's out of everybody's system. And sure enough, it's not. But it's definitely winding down. It's not as many. Last one didn't get as many as I expected. So we'll see if the opening comes back soon. It's just hilarious how long it's been gone at this point. But I thank you for your generosity. Remember, Patreon does include things like it includes things like Discord access. It's gonna be access to my watch parties for Transformers Prime while I go through and take on that series. The higher tiers do get review requests or video requests of anything I do. And that is what we're doing today. Someone wanted me to dedicate a video to my thoughts on third-party Transformers. And to be fair, if you've watched this channel for long enough, you've probably gleaned exactly how I feel about third-party. Though I will admit, it isn't what it used to be. So, once upon a time, I was very much carrying the Hasbro flag. I was very much that type to go like, they are marketing and they are stealing IPs. They are stealing intellectual property in order to produce these toys instead of just making something original on their own that's super cool and works super well. That was always my thought. It was like, why didn't they just, if they're this good at the engineering and they're this willing to make something like this, why not just make something of their own? And obviously because that's far harder to make money off of. So, okay. Granted, I get that. I was also very much like, well, these are just advanced knockoffs. They're new engineering, and some of them are really good, but some of them are also really bad. And, there's so many third parties out there, it's hard to really trust which ones are good or bad. And even the ones with good reputations can turn out duds. It's weird. It's a minefield, is what it is. And I was very much just like opposed to it, almost on a moral level. Like, I always felt like if you really were a Transformers fan, you'd support the official product so it continues. If you'd put all your money into third party, then you're not paying back into the franchise, which means the franchise doesn't survive as well. Things like that. That's where my head was originally. Now, things kind of mellow out the more I see it and the more inundated I am with third party in general. So my thoughts and my opinions these days are just a little bit different. And you've probably figured that out by the fact that I've reviewed a few third party toys and spoken of them very, very well. We're going to go into some of the ones that I have bought and ones that I have liked, but we're going to talk about just third party in general and its current state and what I kind of think of where it's what's happened to it now. So, just to get this out of the way, because this gets asked to me every time I talk third party, I don't really have any problems with upgrade kits. You want to make a pack of weapons for an Optimus Prime that was lacking a few? Go right ahead. Not going to bother me in the slightest bit. If you want to make a trailer for an Optimus Prime that never got a trailer, that's fine. Okay, make a big box that turns into something interesting. That's perfectly okay. I don't have any real issue with upgrade stuff. In the same way, I don't really have any upgrade problems with repro sticker sheets. I've got one on my G1 Star Saber. Things like that. Things like that I am completely fine with. So that's never been an issue. Things where I start getting an issue with third party is repetition. Even in the first years of third party, because none of these companies communicated with each other, they would design and plan out essentially the same toys at the same time. We had multiple Predakings come out at the same time, multiple Devastators. I think multiple companies tried Headmasters at the same time. They all just kind of hit the same idea in the same pacing because they went about it logically. This would sell, this is the next logical step of what to sell next. The Predacons especially are like this. I mean, I think Devastator is still the king, right? If we're talking like overproduced third-party combiners, definitely Devastator, who is available in every size and aesthetic, and as I speak, there's a brand new one coming out, which admittedly does something different and cool, where you can switch between toy-accurate and animation-accurate appearances. That's super unique, you know, and if you can make it all work and work in all the transformation engineering too, okay, that's fair, good on ya. I will accept that. You've actually, like, I will actually accept that as, yes, you've done okay. But yeah, like, how many times can you do Predaking? Like, how many times can you do any combiner at this rate and add anything new to the system? Yes, like this set of Predaking, these Predacons are a different aesthetic, but still, it's still just Predacons. It's still just Predacons, you know? I've got a Feral Rex buried somewhere, you know, and I generally, like, it's nice, it's a nice set, but, like, admittedly, like, it's just not, you know, like how many more times can we get something like this? Likewise, how many times can we have, like, a third-party Optimus Prime? Why do we need a third-party Optimus Prime to begin with? Hasbro produces these things at every size imaginable. You've got Masterpieces, you've got Voyagers and Leaders, you've got you've got Optimus Primes all over the place. And just ridiculous layers, ridiculous numbers of these third-party Primes. And, like, what are you going to add at this point? What are you going to do to actually change the paradigm and make it so that your Optimus Prime is doing something that none of the other 100 others have done? Every aesthetic's been done. Every size has been done. Every stylizing has been done. It's ridiculous at this point that, like, something like this would come out. And look, this is, you know, like, this is brand new. Like, this is fairly new. And it's $105, by the way. It's 4 inches tall, and it's $105. Now, granted, it comes with a lot of stuff, but still, like, this is 4-inch figure I gotta pay $100 for, plus shipping? This is absurd. This is crazy. People complain about how expensive Hasbro's prices are, and then they'll go and willfully buy something that's $120 after shipping just because, okay, yeah, it's a desktop size Optimus Prime. Now, don't get me wrong. I know it's really well made. I have things like this. I've got products from New Age. New Age is incredibly impressive in their micro scale engineering. Yeah, I'm looking at a few right now, and it genuinely is just a really impressive job of making these toys, like, super small and just, like, super solid as action figures and Transformers, right? I will not knock the engineering genius that went into things like this. I will knock that price. $60, and there's no trailer to this one. There's no trailer, and it's just this one. And this isn't even the most ridiculous. Like, New Age gets absurd with their seeker prices. You know, you do some obscure repaint of Starscream, and they charge $75. I understand limited production runs and numbers and all that, but seriously, it's a repaint you want $75 for. Things like that get on my nerves. Things like that are just like, I don't understand how the same people who complain about Hasbro's pricing can look at this and go, that's perfectly fine. I understand the engineering is a lot better than a core class figure, but also, you know, I know, I just kind of like having little Optimus Prime. You know, like, there's people different than me. Let's put it this way. There are people who want different things out of Transformers than me. Me, I just want a really nice representation that's got some decent posability to it. You know, I don't really mind. You know, like, I've got, like, a New Age Ironhide over there, but I also have, like, the Core Class 86 Ironhide right here on my desk. And guess which one's on my desk? Because this one is quicker and easier to fiddle with than the expensive one. And this one cost me 1/5 of what the other one did, and it still satisfies my need. There are people who need those super complex and super articulated figures at that size. I'm not one of them, so I admit, I don't entirely understand the appeal, but I understand. I get it. There's things like this that people keep asking me about, like the fans' hobby stuff. And this is, okay, it's fine, but these days is not out of the realm of possibility. So one of the big things I used to say about third party was, I'm okay with it if it's something Hasbro would never do. But these days, Hasbro are doing some pretty crazy things. So honestly, I think we're not anywhere close to. I think we're at a point where like everything is on the table, and pretty much anything is something that Hasbro is capable and willing to do at this point. Don't get me wrong. It does look really good, and I like the changes they made to the trailer. The trailer actually has some functional playability to it now. But I don't think this is something that Hasbro is going to sleep on. I think it, now we have these two on the way from Hasbro, and from the people who've already gotten theirs early. Curse me for pre-ordering from the wrong place. It seems like the Hasbro ones are pretty good. They're pretty good, and a lot, pretty good for being a lot cheaper than these things are. $235 for Naval Commander here. He looks good, fine. I do, I do think the Hasbro one turned out better. Appearance-wise, I like the Hasbro one better. I understand this one's probably more articulate and complicated, but I like how the American one looks. I like how the Hasbro one looks. And again, I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility for them to do things like this that third party has been getting into recently. Someone told me the same company did Commander of the Stars, the third party Cybertron Optimus, and everyone asked me if I wanted to get that. No. Because I've heard terrible things about it in hand. I've heard some really bad design decisions and quality control problems. No, this is another reason why I don't do third party, because even a company that produces out really heralded things can still produce duds. And my lights flickered for some reason. I don't know why. Then there's things like this. I don't know why third party suddenly decided to start doing hoist and retools into Bulkhead, but they did. That head is way too big. That head is way too big. It's silly stuff like this that just feels like it's thrown out there just for the sake of throwing it out there. I almost feel like this is like taking a shot at Hasbro for doing their legacy Bulkhead, and no one liked it, so let's do this stupid looking thing. I don't know. I don't know who this is for. I don't know who wanted lean, mean, still big-headed Bulkhead machine. Again, it's weird. I understand and I can appreciate weird, but also, I don't see who this was made for. There's the option of third party to provide alternatives to something Hasbro's produced that is either not available anymore or too expensive and out of reach. My co-host back there, very generously provided to me by a friend, I can understand wanting to go for Cell here, the studio Cell, in order to avoid having to pay the aftermarket on him. Because even at retail, this guy was more expensive than the one you see on screen here. The problem here is, again, we're dealing in aesthetics and design choices. Yes, there's a ton of panels on that one, but ultimately, I like how that one looks better than I like how this one looks, especially in planet mode. For me, the most important thing about Unicron is his planet mode. So when this one showed up and the ring looks kind of anemic, I don't like the extra spikes that hang out the sides. I don't like how the mouth looks. I don't like the wide striping on the orange. And overall, I don't like how it is taking some weird liberties. This is not an accurate Unicron. You can look it over there. It's just like Unicron's design is supposed to be asymmetrical. This one is not. I'm not happy about that. So I understand it's cheaper. If you want a big Unicron toy, it's definitely cheaper. If you want a cleaner looking Unicron toy, yeah, definitely fine. Go for it. Personally, I don't like how it looks compared to that. I like that. That's just another aesthetic choice. Another toy that everyone thought I would go for is this, because if you've seen past videos, you saw how much I championed Waspinator as a helicopter, because that makes more sense for a bug transformer than a jet that Hasbro and the companies were pushing for a while. But this one shows another problem I have with third-party transformers, in that, from what I've heard, this thing is almost nothing but panel transformation. And that's another element of third party I don't like. I don't like how overly complicated they get in order to accomplish what they do. The paneling on this one I've seen in transformation is ridiculous. There's so many steps to making this thing transform that it just doesn't look fun. like, it just doesn't look fun to me. It's super impressive in both modes. Yes, it's the type of, like, vehicle mode Waspinator that I could really be into. But I don't like having to spend 20 minutes transforming something because it's over involved. I don't like having an expensive toy that feels like it's going to break because it's made of so many tiny pieces. Not my kind of fun. Not my kind of aesthetic. And then there is another direction. So, one reason why I used to be against third party was that it catered to what I felt was one of the bad sects of the fandom, which is the G1 fans that demand certain things from Hasbro they're never going to get. They demand crazy levels of articulation. They demand die-cast parts. They demand G1 accurate. For years and years, they make these demands, and that's why third party started up in the first place, to capture and take advantage of that. And there's a sense of entitlement to it, that they feel like they deserve to have these things. And it is like a badge of pride to them that they buy third party that does everything right and avoid Hasbro that does everything wrong. And it's such a negative viewpoint. It's such a negative direction. I could never get behind it, and it always put me off. But now there's a new direction that third party's gone into, which is catering. It is catering. So, okay, this is not so bad, okay? Anime girl done up, like anime girl dressed up as Skywarp. Okay, this isn't too bad. It's kind of cutesy. There's some feminine aesthetic to it, but there's nothing terribly wrong with it. But we also know things like Nicey exists, which is literally just RC with giant boobs. And now we have things like this in existence. This is supposed to be a Black Arachnia toy that is coming out by Bingo Toys. And guess what? They don't really show you the toy. They don't really show you the concept of it. All they show you is boob and butt. They literally just show you the most perverted things. And then, yeah, that face. And now this is another direction that's being catered to, and I don't agree with this. I mean, I don't agree with the over-sexualization of things that are intended to be kids' characters. I don't appreciate, like, the over-sexualization of robot characters. Yeah, like, it's weird to me that, like, because here's the thing. This is inherently really, really sexist. This is where it bothers me the most. Because guess what? You're never going to see Optimus Prime looking like he's wearing a G-string with a giant bulge in front. When you do, when third parties do that, when I get this chisel sculpted, like, bronze god Optimus Prime in a thong, showing off the goods, then I will say this is fair. Then I will say this is not sexist. But I've never seen it. I don't think I'm ever going to see it. But this is continuing. This is a thing now. Nicey broke the ice, and now we're just getting more and more, and it's kind of disgusting. It's kind of disgusting, not gonna lie. Again, if it's for you, fine. It's not for me. That said, third party does do a lot of clever stuff. Okay, so we do have some of that feminine aesthetic going on here. Yes, Chromie here's got big booba, but she's displayed more cute than sexualized, and I love the design idea of making this, like, chibi former, this super deformed style, where the head is doing the bulk of the transformation, which actually gets you something really clever like this. This I don't mind so much. This is clever. And this is, again, something that goes back to my original thought of it's something Hasbro would never do. And these days, when I used to say Hasbro would never do, I used to think combiners, triple changers. No, nowadays, it's all in aesthetic. And, like, this is an aesthetic Hasbro's never going to hit. Likewise, Iron Factory's doing these, like, samurai-themed Transformers, which look super cool. Again, kind of wish they weren't so expensive for their size, but, like, there's some really cool ones coming out. I love the Grimlock is out already. Okay, 38's actually not bad. 38 for high-quality, small scale is actually not bad. And again, this is something I like. I like original takes. I like unique looks. I like things that I can't go into Walmart and buy, or things that I'm not expecting Hasbro to make in the next 5 years that I can just go out and buy. And they're continuing this, too. They're getting Beast Wars designs, too, that look really, really good. The obvious one here is Trans Arts and their trans metal lines. Again, something I don't think Hasbro's going to do because they've been very wishy-washy on how to handle trans metals. And these are masterpiece scale, and they do fantastic things. again, something I don't really expect Hasbro to be able to pull off in a modern figure or focus any attention on. This, fantastic. Like, and I love these. I've got 3 of them. Well, I got 4 of them. I've got 3 that I really like, and then I have Rat Trap that I think came out really bad. So again, even a good third party can have duds, and that's kind of the thing, like, about like the loyalty that some people have to some third party companies. No, every now and then they produce a stinker. Every now and then they over-design it or they under-design it, one or the other. And yeah, this is phenomenal. Like, watch my review of it. And yeah, I do have a few of their others on pre-order. So I would like these to continue, because this is, again, in that realm of I don't think Hasbro's going to do it. Again, in aesthetics, I got this little guy. Because part of me has always looked at that, Choro Q? Or, I can't even, if that's the line I'm thinking of. This super tiny little Trypticon I thought was, the idea of like just a tiny little desktop Trypticon is super cute. I reviewed this guy too, and like I really, really love it. I really, really love how these things look. And there's a million colorways for this one too. It's the only way I can get some of my favorites in Masterpiece. You know how long it's going to take to get a Masterpiece level, Skull Cruncher? I've got one. I'm looking at it right over there. It's actually kind of like large Voyager size. This is Masterpiece scale. Can't really swing this one, but I love the idea that it's there. And again, not something Hasbro's ever going to do. And they go into other directions too, like the comic book designs that, they're starting to tap now. But the idea of releasing an Autobot Megatron on a toy shelf still seems pretty far out there, which means things like this are about the only way we're going to get it. But then again, I thought the same thing about Tarn, and hey, we've got to guess who's available at shelves right now. So that's generally where I am on the third party. I'm still very much like, I still prefer Hasbro's official, not only because I'm trying to be more cost effective with my purchases, but also there really is a lot of fun to be had with those cheaper figures and less worry because they are cheap. And I feel like they do a better, more consistent job of keeping like character representation strong while keeping the prices, decent compared to third party, where the price is basically unlimited. They can make it as big or fancy as they want and then just charge the appropriate price for it. So I still am in this weird spot. I'm still not huge on third party, but there are exceptions that I can make based on things that I don't think Hasbro's ever going to get around to, or if they do, it's not going to be until long after I probably can't afford to buy Transformers anymore. Whichever comes first, but sometimes you just need to go with the other option. So those are my general thoughts on third party these days. I hope that satisfies the request. And I thank everyone for watching. And as always, I will see you next time.
We're gonna have to get your names for the books. You, Pale One.
William Current.
Roll me a deception check.
I thought their name was Pain.
Roll a disadvantage.
Okay.
That was like the opposite of the help action there. You, Goblin.
First name D's.
Watch your tongue.